Britain retook these islands in 74 days. Read the result, and it looks inevitable. It wasn't. 3 times the war nearly went the other way, and in each case, we know exactly what stopped it. Nothing in this film is invented. Everything drawn solid happened. Everything drawn in outline did not, but each of those was ordered, loaded, or fired by someone who meant it. On the 2nd of April, Argentina took an airfield. It sits here, 89 kilometers from the water where the British would come ashore 7 weeks later. Argentina's fighters flew from the mainland instead, 641 kilometers. The runway was about 1,200 meters of asphalt, laid in 1979 for the airline that served the islands. Argentina's own Air Force history calls it too short for any jet aircraft. So they ordered it lengthened. Crates of aluminium planking and the machinery to lay it were loaded onto a transport ship. The ship never reached the islands. The blockade turned it back. What did arrive was 1 construction squadron, 200 planks, and 80 meters of new runway. Of the 17 jobs that squadron finished, 16 were for the army. The price is in their own records. Argentine aircraft reached the target area with 2 to 3 minutes of fuel to spare. The Harriers, flying from carriers 100 miles out, had 10 to 20. After the war, Argentina's own Commission of Inquiry charged its Air Force chief with failing to press for that runway, and the head of the Royal Air Force put the margin plainly. The islands are 400 miles from the mainland. At 300, he did not think Britain could have pulled it off. 3 weeks later, the British landed here, in San Carlos water. For 5 days, Argentine pilots came in low over these hills, and they hit ship after ship. At least 13 Argentine bombs struck a British warship and did not go off. Not near misses. Hits, bombs that punched through a hull or lodged inside one and stayed silent. The fuses were not faulty. Most were retarded bombs, and a retarded bomb needs a minimum time falling before it arms itself. To live through the missiles and the guns, the pilots came in below that height. Climb high enough to arm the bomb, and you were shot down. That was the whole choice. HMS Antelope took 2 of them. Neither exploded. She pulled into sheltered water so 2 engineers could go aboard and take the fuses out. On the 4th attempt, 1 detonated. Staff Sergeant James Prescott was killed. The ship broke open and sank the next day, destroyed by a bomb that had failed. Britain lost 6 ships in this war. The admiral commanding the battle group wrote that if those other bombs had worked, they would surely have lost 5 more. Argentina went to war with 5 air-launched Exocet missiles. 5 aircraft could carry them, though 1 was stripped for spare parts because the embargo meant there were none to buy. 4 aircraft, 5 missiles, and no way to get more. On the 4th of May, they fired 2. 1 hit HMS Sheffield. 20 men died, and the ship burned for 6 days before she sank under tow. On the 25th of May, they fired 2 more, and this time the target was a carrier. Radar analysis says the pilots picked out HMS Hermes correctly. Hermes and her escort fired chaff. The missiles turned away, searched again, and found the Atlantic conveyor instead. 12 men died with her, along with the heavy lift helicopters the British were counting on. On the 30th of May, they fired the last one. No British ship was hit. That was the entire arsenal. 5 fired, none left, and 2 weeks of war still to run. There were 12 more in Peru, bought from France and promised on to Argentina. On the 30th of May, the same day the last missile flew, Margaret Thatcher wrote to the French president. Releasing those weapons, she said, would have a devastating effect on the relationship between our 2 countries. France asked Peru to pay in full at the dockside. The missiles never moved. 80 meters of runway that stayed on a ship, 13 bombs that stayed silent, 12 missiles that stayed in Peru. None of this says Argentina would have won. It says the margin was that thin. A Marshal of the Royal Air Force put it in 6 words, 6 better fuses, and we would have lost.